Welcome to Justice Now, and you've reached the series on Tips for Black Workers, Part 23. Incidentally enough, I actually came across an older term of black, an older definition, and this is found in the American Dictionary by Noah Webster, 1828. There's actually a YouTube video on this. If you put in the definition, the original definition of black, then the video will pop up for you on YouTube. So in 1828, according to the dictionary of Noah Webster, now known today as the Webster Dictionary, the definition of black means pale, unbleached, to lighten up, or to turn white, devoid of color. And I found that to be really interesting because I didn't know that. I am aware of the term as being applied to non-whites, a particular group that is designated as black, those with highly melanated pigmentation of African descent and African diaspora. So that's how I know the term black to be. However, at least that's how it was taught to me. However, the original term meant to be bleached, pale, and devoid of color. So my conclusion is the terms black and white in the English language may actually mean the same thing. White, in Latin, blanc or blanco, in Spanish, or blanca, or blanche in French, means blank, which is also devoid of color. So white and black may actually be the same thing. It's important to look into the terms, the origins of the terms, and use it for what it's originally intended. Oftentimes, in particular with the English language, terms have a double meaning, which is a tool for double speak. So we now accept the term, let me take that back, not accept the term. I know that as I was growing up, I was taught that nice is to be kind. It was often associated with kindness. It was associated with, being gentle. However, when you look at the origins of the meaning, the term nice means to be ignorant, weak-willed. So it's the term nice is by original definition an insult, flighty, so definitely look into those terms. The way that you use words is very important, and oftentimes because people who have been designated as black are placed in such confusing circumstances, and words being a big part along with their action, not yours but that of the perpetrators, tend to generate a lot of confusion. So if someone is saying, oh, you're so nice, you don't really know what meaning. You can definitely ask, what do they mean when they say nice? What is their definition? But again, in this particular current state of a white supremacist society globally, deception is often used as a tool. So you may be lied about in terms of what the definition nice is, just as I was lied about as I was being taught about what the definition of nice is. So do your own research the origins of the words, of the terms, so that you're familiar with, the different terms. I found it to be very interesting and insightful, and a useful tool to add in the fight against or in neutralizing the racism in the society, which leads to into the segment of Tips for Black Workers, Part 23, and that is beware of the dangling carrot. The dangling carrot has been often used as a metaphor, as a prize. And it's often referred to as a motivator for the horse that is toiling by pushing the wagon and helping the driver get from point A to point B. They'll use a carrot as their motivator to get from point A to point B. So this term has often been used to apply to people. If you look in some of the really old pictures of slavery, even the children who were enslaved often took the places of horses, where white children would sit in a carriage with the wheel, and then two enslaved children would be the horses, and the white child would be carrying the whip. There are pictures on YouTube and on Google that you can find of this. The same term has been also used into the workplace, where there's a promise of a promotion or a promise of a pay increase, and that is used as a motivator for workers to expense their energy even further, investing in the company in hopes of achieving this prize. So why do I say beware of the dangling carrot? What I noticed in my career, and it's been over 20 years span, is that oftentimes managers, upper managers, supervisors will promise workers, as I've been promised, or allude to, as I've undergone that as well, that if you put in as much energy towards the work, then you can be promoted, you can be given a pay increase, or you could be moved to a more desirable area of the workplace, like a more desired department where there's more stability there. So I'll give you some examples of what happens with this. So one time I was working in the banking industry, and it was a call center, and I was doing the specialized credit cards, where I would be selling the insurance points to it to customers who already had an existing credit card. And I was the leader in terms of producing the highest sales, and very stellar in my work with my work practices. And I noticed that the supervisor for that particular team was very, very envious, in that she would go out of her way to monitor my calls remotely, to see if I was providing the wrong information or overselling to the customer on these attributes of the card that may be beneficial. Come to find out, she couldn't find anything because I was doing the job based on how I was trained. So then the next thing she would do is she would let me know that, oh, well, you continue keeping this up, you can be moved over to the department that deals with day-to-day accounts. At that time, the departments that dealt with the day-to-day accounts was a very stable department. There were people that had been there for 10 years without incident, great team, things of that nature. So I worked towards that. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I continued my work, continued bringing in high sales. Um, there was also a component to it where you can also do your own learning, and the system will capture all the trainings, the additional trainings that you do. So I would take it upon myself to go and do those trainings during my lunchtime, uh, because I just like learning, and I thought that it was very nice to do that instead of, just, instead of not being constructive with my time. But I never really told my manager that I was doing that because it would have been captured anyways. There was no need. So it came time for the Stars Appreciation, and the Stars Appreciation Award were to nominate workers who were doing exceptionally well. Um, so in 6 months of employment, at that particular employment, um, the director who was above her actually nominated me for the Stars Award, in which you get a gold plaque. And come to find out, she never received a gold plaque, and she was there for 9 years, but she was extremely envious of those who do receive them, and extremely envious of those who received any type of recognition. The type of recognition that she wanted is to show that I'm doing, bringing in the sales, and then she wanted to, like a vulture, take the credit of my hard work and make it seem as if she's the one that taught me, even though I'm the one that was just doing my own stuff because she was a horrible supervisor. So when it came time for the awards, I went and I got it, and it was really nice, and I enjoyed it, and I changed it, my silver plaque name tag, to the gold one. At that time, I didn't know that that would trigger her into being more terroristic. I was less codified at the time, but apparently it triggered her. And all of a sudden, the promises of getting into the day-to-day banking component became harder and harder to come by, meaning that she would deliberately try to sabotage the efforts by getting other people on the team to work against me. Would literally, stand literally right behind me, talking bad about me in front of a couple of the team members while I was on the phone doing a sale. However, managed to block her out, even though she was literally standing behind me talking bad about me, and still was able to capture the sale, of which it only enraged her more, and propelled her in her twisted mind more to terrorize further. So it came to the point where um, the uh, the person that was on her team, a guy who was of the same European descent as her, who was making the worst sales, um, she had told me that I needed to go and train him. So I would ask her, if you need me to train, I need to be trained myself on how to train him. And I would also like this reflected because on my pay, because it's something that is not part of my job duties. I mean, after all, she is the manager of the team. Her job is to train. And then what ended up happening, an opening came up into the day-to-day unit, and she manages to have that guy who was of her same European background be transferred over to the day-to-day um, uh, department, banking department, where it was more stable, literally stealing the position up from under me and giving it to him. Where the gold plaque for the Stars Award would have enabled me to go to other departments easily, and she would put a stop to that. So that's one part. I'm going to give you part B with another example soon.